Welcome to the channel for the first time viewers. Welcome back for my existing subscribers. I was thinking about the other day some of the reasons why we lose in Rainbow Six Siege, so I decided to make a quick list of a few bullet points of pretty much reasons you lose rounds and rounds end up losing matches in Siege, right? So let's hop right into it so we don't waste any time. The first reason that I had come up with, which is like the number one pet peeve of mine, is bad comms. So bad comms, people making terrible callouts or no callouts. Obviously, that's going to cost you a couple rounds. Somebody getting killed, not telling you where they died from. Then you'll hear it in my videos, and now my friends in Discord kind of poke fun at me, but it is what it is. They'll be like, they'll say stuff like, you know, five gets a kill, and then say, "Where's the guy at?" But like anytime somebody dies, I just pretty much immediately say, "Where is he at?" You know, because sometimes people will get caught up in the moment and they make no call. But then that's how somebody goes off and gets like a 3K when everybody's kind of just chilling there. Another reason would be not warming up, right? So getting onto the game cold, some people can do it, some people can't. I always recommend warming up either through T-Hunt or getting into a casual or unranked or playing customs, like just doing something to get your aim and get your arm and your body ready to get into a session, right? So just like if you're about to start a basketball game or a football game, you go out onto the field before, they warm up, they do a couple dry runs where they do a couple hits, and then boom, head back to the locker room, start the game. Or basketball, they go out, do a couple shots, go back into the locker room, start the game. So that would be another reason, just getting on cold. You also see people get on and they'll be like, it's my first game on, didn't warm up, and it's like a terrible game. And same thing could happen, they might go off, they might just drop a donut. So you never know. Third, playing tired, right? So getting on the game, it's just hard to pay attention. Nights like that, I can just tell that it's because I'm tired, because I get killed and I know for a fact that I could have done better. Like I just did a half-ass job droning because I'm just sleepy, or like, you know, I'm just a little exhausted from work and I'm not really fully paying attention. You can also catch yourself playing tired when you're not thinking in advance, right? So like playing tired, and you can also tie that down to playing distracted. You're not thinking about the next step. So like, let's say you get a pick, you're not really looking for the next guy to come up, or you're not looking for what you would do next. You just kind of go with the flow and then you go through the motions, but that also causes L's. All right, staying on too long is kind of more or less the same thing. You start normally on bad nights, they usually start okay. Like you start off with a win, and every now and then it's just bad all around, but usually starts with a win. You catch an L, you catch another L, you catch another L, and then you just like, you remember that win, so you try to get back another win, but then you play another game, and then you end up just staying on way too late and just catching, you know, senseless L's after senseless L's. Now it's like a catch-22. It's a fine line. You definitely want to play the game to get better, but at the same time, maybe like switch it up, go to casual for a little bit, go to a T-Hunt, break up the monotony of just like queuing up, losing, queuing up, losing, queuing up, losing. Like do something different for a second, take a 5-10 minute break and come back in, so that you're not staying on too long and just being so hyper focused and getting into a rut. So that kind of will break it up. Another reason you lose: queuing up without a team, or bad team chemistry. We all know those people that are super negative, and essentially whenever something goes wrong, if it's them, it's never their fault. If it's you, you're the worst person on earth. Like, you're actually a bad human being. So getting those people out of your lobby is definitely something that will help you out, because A, it clears up comms, because those are the same type of people that will be complaining like for 15 minutes after like something goes wrong. Like if you were supposed to watch flank and they get killed from flank, obviously that's your fault, we all know that, right? But at the same time, 7-8 minutes later they're still talking about it, and then they're like, yeah, dude, I'm just like, it's like 4 rounds later, who cares? So that typically will happen if you have that negative person, and sometimes you queue up without a full stack and you get somebody that just wants to do something renegade. Like the example I gave you in a different video when we had a thermite that was the only operator he had, but he wasn't good at thermite. Like he didn't go with the Thatcher, he didn't plant on time. Like they were just like, what are you doing, bro? So we ended up picking thermite. But that's like the same thing where you're going without a full stack. You never know what that random's gonna be. Sometimes you get blessed with a really good random though. So another thing that causes L's is being stubborn and not accepting sometimes that opponents have more skill, and repeaking because you think you have better aim, right? So sometimes relying on your aim too much can cause you rounds where you peak an angle. You got like one shot off and it was kind of like a lucky shot, and you repeak it. Even though the guy had a better angle than you repeak it and then you get killed. Now you got to make the call out as to where the guy was because you just weren't paying attention and you ended up getting killed. It's 4v5, or even worse, you lose the round. So that's just something where sometimes you got to either concede the gunfight, live the fight another day, move on to a different angle, get creative, maybe make a distraction, like a fake rotate, things like that. You got to think outside the box. You got to be on your toes, so that way you're not just repeaking the same angle. Or even like nowadays, repeaking at a different height is also starting to get pre-fired. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people start to do that. They'll peak high, crouch, and then peak again. But you're starting to see where people are just pre-firing both. So that used to be a strategy that would work, but people get hip to it. So you gotta get more clever with it. Another reason people would be catching L's on Siege, right? Poor connections. So my worst connection type is when I go to the Asian servers. I got like a 242 ping, and it's like I'm playing in the past, dude. Like I can hit somebody, and literally like a real life second later, second and a half, I'll get the points for it. So it's just crazy. Sometimes I'll be in another room, and I have gotten headshot in the doorway, and it just catches up, and it's like, okay, you died like 25 minutes ago. So I was like, I bet. But yeah, there's different things you can do. To an extent, you can't fully fix your connection. Sometimes you can do things like switching your internet provider, and maybe that will give you a better ping based off of where that provider is routing the internet. You can also do things like port forwarding, which if you go on Ubisoft's website, you can type in port forward under your forums. Like if it's Rainbow Six or if it's any other game, really, you just go to the forums and do port forwarding, and it tells you what ports the game tries to use on your router. It's a little bit more advanced, but you can look up YouTube videos on how to forward ports. Essentially, it allows open access to those gateways that the game tries to use. In my experience, it only fixes it a little bit. It works more on consoles than on PC. I would say definitely just hardwire your connection. That's probably the best way to do it. Another thing I would say that causes some else is bad or uncomfortable settings that you copy from better players. So going online, seeing somebody like Bolo and be like, I want to be like him, or seeing somebody like Pengu and be like, I want to be like this person. It's good to have a framework, but sometimes that's not how you play. So you got to understand yourself as a player and not put yourself in a situation where you're just copying settings just to copy them, and then the next thing you know, you go on this losing streak when you had better settings before that were more suited for your play style and how you did things. Like 800 DPI might be too low for you. Like you might need to be at 1200, or it might be insanely high because you're an arm aimer, not a wrist aimer. So just understanding yourself and kind of putting yourself in the best situation to win is something that I would definitely say is critical to becoming better at Siege and not losing rounds. I have said it in my sensitivity video, try to stick to the same sense, because switching it back and forth kind of messes up your muscle memory. Then you got to relearn it, and then during that transition period, you might feel like you're not doing better, and then you just keep reverting back to different sensitivities, and you never actually get your muscle memory down. Some people are just gifted, and they can just pick up a mouse. It could be on like the craziest DPI, and they control it. Some people could be on the lowest DPI, they just hop on, and they're just good at it regardless, because their hand-eye coordination is that good, and they can just understand. Other people need more practice. So speaking of practice, that'll be the last thing, lack of practice. So, or realistic situations. So like if it's a 1v2, it's kind of a trickier one, but if it's like a 1v2 and you're not used to being in that situation, you don't really have anything to draw off of. You might just do something silly like kill the first guy and run out into the open, try to look for the second guy, get picked off because he was just waiting for you. With experience and time, you kind of start to learn, all right, so I got this guy, let me look for the second guy, this is where I would push, boom, all right, or I have this wall reinforced, he can't come from this way. And that's where you would hope your teammates would help you out a little bit. But the more you play and the more you practice, the better you'll be at those situations. And I know somebody commented on one of my old Rainbow Six Siege videos when I was still pretty new at the game, and I was like, I kind of miss those days when everything was a rush. Like I could be in casual, if I was in a clutch situation, I'd get like that energy rush. Now it's got to be like it's pretty much got to be ranked, match point for me to get like an emotional rise out of it. Still feels good to clutch, but back in the day, like I would feel like the jitters in my hands, and it would be really crazy. But yeah, hopefully these tips help. I don't even know how many I dropped, but these are some of the tips that I think that are useful to pay attention to, and some ideas for why we lose ranked games and ranked matches. But it can go for casual as well, so it wouldn't really matter too much. All right, you guys be easy. I'll catch you in the next video.